What's up, Singapore? So, you've already heard about the public spat between the Prime Minister and his siblings. But with so many words flying around, it's really hard to keep track of all the details. So here is an easy-to-follow summary brought to you by your favorite emojis. At 2 a.m. on Wednesday, Dr. Lee Wei Ling and Mr. Lee Hsien Yang released a joint statement on Facebook, denouncing their older brother, Prime Minister Lee Hsien Loong. Now, both of them said that they have lost confidence in PM Lee and fear the use of state organs against them. In the 6-page statement titled, "What Has Happened to Lee Kuan Yew's Values?" they said PM Lee had misused his power in relation to 38 Oxley Road, the house left behind by their late father and Singapore's first Prime Minister, Lee Kuan Yew. This was the latest chapter in a long-running dispute over whether or not the house should be demolished. And PM Lee had said that he would recuse himself from all government decisions concerning the house, but his siblings believe that PM Lee had not kept his promise. They also claimed that PM Lee and his wife Ho Ching harbour political ambitions for their son, Mr. Lee Hong Yi. Hong Yi, however, declared on Facebook that he has no interest in politics whatsoever. They also alleged that Madam Ho Ching had outsized influence and power that went beyond her role as Prime Minister's wife. Mr. Lee Hsien Yang added that he and his wife Swetfen feel compelled to leave Singapore for the foreseeable future because of PM Lee. PM Lee denied these charges, saying he is deeply saddened by his siblings' accusations. Later, in a 5-page statement, PM Lee raised questions on the circumstances surrounding his father's last will and whether there was a conflict of interest when Mrs. Lee Swetfen helped to prepare the will. He said he has grave concerns about whether the late Mr. Lee was properly and independently advised on its contents before he signed it. He also questioned if Mr. Lee Kuan Yew knew that a clause to demolish the house was reintroduced into the 7th and last will. PM Lee recounted that Mrs. Lee Swetfen had emailed Mr. Lee Kuan Yew on December 16, 2013 about the 7th will, which would give his 3 children equal shares of the estate. He noted that her husband stood to gain from this, as the 6th will had given Dr. Lee Wei Ling an extra share. And PM Lee said Mrs. Lee helped to prepare the new will that very evening and sent 2 lawyers to 38 Oxley Road the next day for Mr. Lee Kuan Yew to sign it. The lawyers were at the house for only 15 minutes, he noted. He added that there is no evidence his father knew the demolition clause was reinserted into the last will. His siblings fired back. Mr. Lee Hsien Yang stressed that the will is full, final, and legally binding. He said that his wife's law firm did not draft the final will and noted that Mr. Lee Kuan Yew had initialed right beneath the demolition clause. Dr. Lee Wei Ling said that there was no duplicity by Mr. Lee Hsien Yang and his wife, stating that it was in fact Mrs. Lee Swetfen who interceded with Mr. Lee Kuan Yew to reinstate Dr. Lee's right to live in the Oxley Road house. Dr. Lee also shared email transcripts detailing Mrs. Lee Swetfen's efforts to get Dr. Lee an equal share of the estate after this share was reduced following a quarrel with her father. So that's the story so far, and it is still developing. Till the next Facebook post.